I always have prompts to do these things at some sort of marker. This one was 11:11 a.m., but has nothing to do with the time because my clock is off by like an hour and 45 minutes. So it's more about me sensing the numbers themselves. I tend to like the 11:11s. Just ones. 111, 1111. Things like that. I like those. I attract them. Matt was saying something interesting recently. Texas shrugged. Former Texas shrugged. He was talking about billionaires and them never retiring, so on and so forth. But he mentioned something about them consuming the currency, the money, instead of it just acting as a tool to do things or purchase things or direct people to do things. He was signifying or implying that perhaps they are actually able to consume it as an energy form. So if somebody makes $100,000 somehow, some way, instead of plonking that in the bank account or buying a fast car or a mobile home, perhaps there's a way to ingest energetically, because that's what money does represent. It represents the transference or the translation of our energetic work into a quantifiable form, which is called money. It is still energy, though. Even if money is a poor method of transfer, it's still the transfer of energy. And money is not really any longer the poor transfer of energy compared to back when you were notching notches on a tally stick. It's more efficient now. And money is the most protected entity in the world. Much more so than human life itself, of course. And I think we have the hardest time understanding what money actually is. It's easy to say, well, it's dollar bills. Well, it's numbers in my bank. You know, it's currency. It's energetic transfer. It's a way of measuring what we're doing. It's a way of measuring value. There are a lot of characteristics we can put onto it, but it still doesn't tell us exactly what it is and how it runs everything, because it does, in a sense, run everything, or else it is the tool through which the people's behavior is managed, or at least it's the superficial surface tool through which everybody is managed, because every single car that's rolling down the road, is doing so with regards to money. There are gas considerations, insurance considerations, car payment considerations, most likely, unless they own it. There are considerations of free time. Does that person have free time to be on the road, just traveling? And if not, and it's most likely not, because most people don't have free time, then most likely they're driving to or from work, or they're doing something involving work or involving the creation of money. That seems to be the primary thing that humans do here, is create money. So if we could figure out what it was exactly, then we would understand why everyone's so gung-ho about making this stuff. You know? Why is it so exciting? And maybe it's not about it being exciting, maybe it's about it being a tool to manipulate behavior. But then you have to ask by whom. And then once you ask that question, then you're ready to go down the first rabbit hole of many. Because if you take this word natural, and if you just feel what you feel when you hear that word, when you say that word natural, and you imagine how humans would live on a landscape that was nature, primarily nature, how would the human's behavior look like? Because there's no inherent need to do all this busy stuff. There's no all this technological stuff. There's no need for that versus living naturally. It's convenient. It's nice, I suppose, to have shelter and warmth and some form of food. But the levels of corruption of everything due to all of the technological advances make it a risky proposition to move away from nature in the first place, because we don't have any idea what we're doing. Not a clue. It's just a shot in the dark. It's a stab in the dark. And I say we very, what's the word? I always say we when I'm talking about all the horrible things that other humans have done, because I consider it a group responsibility, even if I'm not the one individually doing it. And this does bring back into play the idea of corporation. Because corporation has replaced tribe, right? The corporation has replaced the tribe. The tribe was organic. The tribe was directly related to the land on which the tribe lived. They lived in the land, on the land, with respect for the land, and it was a symbiotic relationship. That's what a tribe was. And a corporation is an artificial imposition of a group of individuals that are united together for a common goal, but it is a more abstract goal, and it is not directly related to living on or working with the land, because you're not living on and working with the land. You're living inside of a box or a building, and you're doing something that is involving you're doing something most likely that's involving an abstraction away from the natural land. A casino, for instance. If you're working in a casino, you're working in an energy pool system where people can bring their work that has been quantified into energy, and then they can play with the energy and try to see if they can make it grow or not. Most likely they can't, because the casino is run by a computer system, and the computer system is smarter than every single one of you and me. It's run by algorithms. All of the games are run by algorithms, and they make sure that the casino makes money every single day. There's not any questions or risks or anything for the casino. None whatsoever. And there's nothing natural about it. You're inside of a box. You're throwing around magic cards with spells and numbers on them. And you're hoping that some patterns will appear, and then your theoretical abstract money will grow. Because it's even in the form of chips, you know? And then it transfers into the form of cash, and then it transfers into the form of numbers in a bank account. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff has become abstracted so much from whatever it is that is natural, that we don't really know what natural is anymore. Even if we're taking a walk in the park or something, most likely the money is doing this, you know. Unless we have more than enough, which most people don't. Some people do, most people don't. Then the money is driving all this stuff, even when you're away from work, because you're aware of the ever decreasing amount in your bank account, and you have fear of if it ever hits zero or worse, because then that would mean that you would have to go groveling, or you'd have to go getting someone else's money and interfering with their lives. And the way our system has been set up, it's been set up in a fashion that we don't have to actually rely on one another as human beings, not really very much, so long as all we're responsible for doing is making sure that that number stays above zero. That number in the computer in the bank account. If that sucker stays above zero, we don't need anybody or anything. Now that's a very negative picture that I just painted, but it's how it is, okay? If you have that number in the account, you're allowed to get food. You're allowed to have shelter. You're allowed to have a car, whatever. And you don't need people. I'm contrasting this with the natural situation where if there's a tribe, every single individual is necessary to that tribe, and they all perform a valuable function. And this function arises naturally with the arising of the individual in the environment, in the tribe. When everything is taken care of by money, you don't have that need anymore. That's why neighbors don't talk to each other. That's why neighbors don't know each other. You have to come together artificially via some wacky religion thing, or the schools or something like that. These institutions that we don't necessarily enjoy because, well, you know what they're about. I know what they're about. Everything's wanting to sell you something anyway. Even the religions are wanting to sell you something as well. So it's all very artificial. Very artificial. It's almost like if you were to want to, being out in nature or living out in the woods or building a cabin and living in the woods is almost like going back in like a blast to the past, or you're going to this age of antiquity where, you know, everyone was innocent and technology and AI didn't rule the world. Like it's almost like a phenomenon to even consider that, because everybody's so hooked in now to the computer grid. We have iPhone X, you know, we have all this technology that just came out of nowhere in 10 years, you know. We didn't have any phones whatsoever in the 1900s. The iPod didn't come out till 2001. Then the cell phone came out like 2003 or 4 or something like that. 2005, I don't know. That's when the first iPhone came out. And then from there, it's just, and now we have a whole computer inside of the iPhone. We have a 512 megabyte or gigabyte iPhone. Probably the iPhone X has a terabyte. I don't know. I know it will be at a terabyte pretty soon. So we are approaching this singularity in some sort of fashion, but as far as human consciousness, if anything, we're regressed. We're not approaching any singularity as far as human consciousness is concerned. The humans still distrust each other. We can't seem to see that we're just humans here and there's nobody else here, and we should just like anyway, this has been a really long ramble, and it's really early in the morning, and I'm not sure if I said anything, but I gotta work now. I got things to do. Important money-making things. These things are important, you guys. Okay, I gotta go.